It's Tom Downey. I am back, at least for today, on Seattle Seahawks Today. Two things. A, the Seahawks have released their first unofficial depth chart, so we wanted to break that down for you guys. I am subbing back in just for today to break down the new video. Tyler Jones has left for other opportunities. We have a new Seahawks host coming aboard, so we thank Tyler for everything. I am excited for you guys to meet the new Seahawks host. Some of you might be familiar with his game already. You'll see him on Thursday, so I am for the watch party. I'm just back for today, so you might like it or hate it, but I'm here for just a little bit. Before we dive into the depth chart, the August like battle is underway between Seahawks Today and Texans Today. We are a little under, 500 likes behind. Like the video for me if you haven't already, and let's gain some ground. Couple notable depth chart takeaways that I saw for the Seahawks. First up, Nick Emmanwori was not listed as a starter, but CB1 listed Devin Witherspoon as the starter. Josh Jobe, some other guys. I think Isaac Waxer's been a little bit more impressive maybe than what that CB1 number 5 ordering tends to indicate there. CB2 listed Reek Wallen, obviously, Shaquille Griffin, Nehemiah Pritchett, Shamar Jean-Charles, etc., on and on. Those were the only two starters, quote-unquote, listed at that spot. Safety, meanwhile, had Coby Bryant, Julian Love as the two starters, with Nick Emmanwori backing up Julian Love. So this is kind of like not a starter, but there were only 4 defensive back spots listed. 2 CBs and the 2 safety spots. It's 2025. You're going to play a bunch of nickel. You're going to have a 5th defensive back out there. And I feel pretty good that Nick Emmanwori is going to be that 5th defensive back in a hybrid nickel role. Julian Love can do some nickel safety stuff too. Emmanwori can certainly do that as well. I'm actually super excited for what he is able to offer Mike MacDonald's defense. I think he does a lot of things well. If the one thing that gives me pause about him in terms of just the overall play style and what he brings is, do I trust him enough against shiftier slot receivers in coverage? Tight ends, run support, blitzing, not the shifty, crazy, he's not there anymore, but I would trust him more against Cooper Kupp in one-on-one than I would against Jackson Smith and Jigba, right? But I think the athletic traits are really intriguing. So I think the answer to this question is yes. But does Nick Emmanwori start in week 1? Y for yes, N for no. Next up on the depth chart takeaways, A.J. Barner was listed at tight end 1. There were 5 tight ends listed on the depth chart post the Noah Fant release. A.J. Barner was at the top spot, Eric Saubert, then Elijah Arroyo, the rookie listed as the number 3 tight end, Nick Kallerup, and Marshall Lang, who, we'll see if they make the roster or not. Barner last year, I think as a compliment to Arroyo, makes a lot of sense. And he's never going to be a dynamic pass catcher. That's not who he is. He'll block his butt off, though, and you want that type of guy on your team. I think Eric Saubert actually does some similar stuff as a blocker because he hasn't ever really been very productive in the course of his NFL career. 97 yards last season. Ooh. Elijah Arroyo, I don't think he's a great blocker. That's okay. He has cut much more from the Noah Fant cloth of he can do some seam work. He can do some dynamic stuff for you as a pass catcher. I think Arroyo might not be the starter, quote-unquote, in terms of snaps. I would not be surprised if he had more catches and more targets and yards and everything than A.J. Barner does even in year 1. So who starts at tight end? A.B. for A.J. Barner, E.S. for Eric Saubert, E.A. for Elijah Arroyo. It's in the game joke there somewhere, but I'm not smart enough to make it. The interior offensive line battle also has several oars listed on the depth chart, which is always intriguing. Oluwatimi listed as 1 starting center. Jalen Sandell also listed as an oar at the center spot. My thought process is Olu ends up winning that job, but Sandell was also listed as an oar at the right guard spot. Anthony Bradford, Christian Haynes, and Jalen all listed as oars, which every now and then you see 1 or 2. You don't normally see a stat level of or across the board. My guess is that this is in order of what the depth chart looked like with who was first in the or. This is how it shook out. Hopefully Abraham Lucas can get healthy, stay healthy. I think Christian Haynes eventually will emerge as a starter along the offensive line for Seattle. I think the oars, if you didn't already have Jalen on your 53-man roster projection, I think you should definitely have him on there. We will be live for the first Seahawks preseason game this year with the new Seahawks Today host. So stay tuned for that. Again, I'm just subbing in for the day. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out. YouTube.com/SeahawksTV. The edge battle is always interesting. There are also some asterisks, I feel like, on this one. So in the rush designation position on the depth chart, again, it's just pass rusher. I wouldn't read too much into the specific designations. But the rush spot, Tank Lawrence, Jerrick Hall, Tyreke Smith. Only 3 players listed at that spot. The flip side of that depth chart was the Sam, that strong side linebacker, but is also kind of just going to be a pass rusher. Like, it's the 3-4 outside linebacker. It's a pass rusher more than anything else. Boye Mafe and Jerrick Hall got the oars. They went a bit deeper on that depth chart reveal. Jamie Sheriff, Connor O'Toole, Jalen Gaines. The asterisk here is that, okay, well, Uchenna Nwosu was not listed. He's hurt. So he did not count on that front. So I am very curious, like, is it just Tank Lawrence and Jerrick Hall on one side and, Boye Mafe and Nwosu on the other, or do they kind of rotate them all around? That's a good top 4 pass rushing unit. Will allow those guys to stay fresh and healthy in theory throughout the season. Next takeaway is, who exactly is wide receiver 3 on this team? Or is it a situational type of deal? The 2 starters, very obvious, Cooper Kupp and Jackson Smith-Njigba. Both those guys offer inside-out flexibility. Should be a really fun grouping for Sam Darnold to have there in the wide receiver room. Behind Kupp, 4 backups listed. Everyone's favorite, Jake Bobo, the Whites, Cody and Ricky, and John Reese Plumlee. Behind JSN was Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Torrey Horton, who I am very intrigued by, who I was a big fan of coming out, Derek Young, and Steven Sims, who we'll discuss at the back end when it comes to special team stuff. I think depending on what type of player you want at wide receiver 3, there's a flavor of ice cream for you. Who do you want, though, as the wide receiver 3? JB for Jake Bobo, TH for Torrey Horton, the vertical threat speedster, which might be just the logical fit as a sacrificial X, so to speak, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, that's MVS, or if it's somebody else, type in O for other. I wasn't going to put this one in, and I almost missed it when I was looking through the depth chart. Jared Ivey is listed at middle linebacker. The grouping was as followed. Ernest Jones, obviously, Tyrese Knight, Patrick O'Connell, De'Aaron Jackson, Drake Thomas, Josh Ross. Those were the back ends there. And then Jared Ivey. Jared Ivey is 6'6", 274. He is not playing middle linebacker. Like, I don't know why he was listed there. Like, as a Sam, maybe? I think he's closer to being on the defensive line depth chart than he is at middle linebacker. That one, I didn't really get that one at all. Now, if you are excited for the Seahawks preseason, show it by liking today's video for me right now. Let's run through the remainder of the depth charts just because we want to give the full review here. Nothing overly shocking with these. Sam Darnold, Drew Lock, Jalen Milroe, QB 1, 2, 3. I think we'll see a lot of Jalen Milroe, hopefully for the best, in the preseason. Running back-wise, obviously Kenny McIntosh out for the year. He is on IR. Kenneth Walker, Zach Charbonnet leading the way. Could be a battle for RB3. Probably George Holani and Damian Martinez, which I'm not shocked, but is worth mentioning that Martinez was behind Holani. Then it's Jacardi Wright, Donovan Kaufman, the reserves. At fullback, it was Robbie Oots and Brady Russell. I saw some discourse of but Russell's done tight end stuff. Yeah, your fullback in the modern day NFL can also do tight end stuff. I mean, Robbie was a tight end at Alabama. So that there's overlap on that. So you could see them, Seattle going, maybe it is just 3 tight ends and a fullback, or they get some creativity there. Russell's a practice squad guy. I do think Oots is the draft pick, though, is the favorite there. Defensive line-wise, the nose tackle stuff was so deep, I just added a nose tackle, too, essentially. Leonard Williams, the only listed defensive end outside of Bubba Thomas, but Byron Murphy and Jaron Reed, who I know they listed Murphy at nose tackle. I think that was just to get him as a starter, essentially. Those guys are going to rotate in. Mike Morris will be involved there, too. They can all play that really almost 1 to 7 technique, essentially. Hankins is a big boy nose guard. Brandon Peely, Quinton Bohanna, who knows the DC pretty well from the time together in Dallas. Those guys are all bigger body, run-stopping nose guards. Not really listed, by the way, was Riley Mills. He's probably going to miss this year with an injury. Special teams, again, nothing shocking. Jason Myers, Michael Dixon, Chris Stoll as the core three there. Maybe a slight battle in the return game. Steven Sims, Torrey Horton, Zach Charbonnet in there on returns, along with Demarion Williams. If Horton can beat out Sims for return duties, that would pretty much guarantee his roster spot, which I think he makes it anyway, but is worth mentioning.